It will effect the necessary changes in its billing systems, so prepaid electricity users will enjoy the rebate. Veterans complain about their welfare as the country commemorates Remembrance Day. An MPP files petition over comments by SAC Deputy Communications Minister suggesting the election petition verdict was influenced by government. We also have business, sports, showbiz and international news all coming up. Stay tuned. Now, very first story, the Trade Union Congress has applauded government's decision to absorb a quarter of the recent increase in electricity tariffs and subsequently called off its planned November 18 strike. The statement announcing the decision by government states that the electricity tariff increase from the October 1 date is now 59.18% instead of the 78.9% announced by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. The TUC, however, says it will continue to push for a reduction in water tariffs, as well as the statement was silent on that.
TUC Secretary General Kofi Asamoah explains the 25% reduction was concluded with government on Thursday, November 7. It was, however, announced a day before coordinated nationwide protests ahead of a strike that was feared could bring the nation to a standstill.
It's been quite a struggle, and if you take account of what happened from the day that the announcement came up to when we gave an ultimatum and the President, His Excellency the President, intervened, the technical committee and what have you. It's been quite challenging, and we must say that we got to this conclusion with the intervention of captains of industry. That is the Ghana Employers Association, Association of Ghana Industries, and the Chamber of Commerce. They intervened, and then at their instance, a meeting was called between us and government.
Kofi Asamoah, however, says the TUC is yet to review its decision to withdraw from the PURC board.
Our involvement in the PURC is something that we needed to examine properly. We would have to find out the merits and demerits of our being there. Because if you recall, most people were arguing that we could not be there and make an argument. Even though in principle we disagree with those people, it doesn't mean that if the board makes a decision, workers cannot complain about it. We do not see it as anything being a stumbling block, but the decision will have to be made by the appropriate structure of the TUC, who would look at it and then finally decide as to whether we should go back to join the PURC or we should stay out.
He reminded government they are still awaiting its position on their demand for reduction in the water tariff.
Whatever it is, we are definitely going to look at water and what its impact on our pay levels and face value of our incomes generally.
Kofi Asamoah also tasked government and the PURC to implement the automatic adjustment formula by January 2014 in order to make any subsequent increases in utility tariffs minimal.
In a related development, government has justified its subsidy of electricity tariffs despite its earlier claim that it would be virtually impossible to raise the funds needed for that purpose. Addressing today's media briefing at the Flagstaff House, Deputy Information and Media Relations Minister Felix Kwakye also challenged assertions that the decision to absorb 25% of the recent tariff increase amounts to interference in the work of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. Gifty Ando-Apia has more.
400 million Ghana cedis will be found to pay for the subsidies that would be necessary because of the reduction that has been done. Once that is done, the PURC would be deemed to still be independent and not subject to the control of government.
The Deputy Information and Media Relations Minister explained government finally concluded that the decision to subsidize was the best in the interest of the nation.
Government put its cards on the tables. Other social partners also did so, and there was consensus at the end of the day that this is the best position to take on this particular matter. So government has committed itself to find the money to do that, even as it also strives to address whatever challenges may arise because of this particular decision.
The commitment comes at a time government has variously stated that the economy is challenged and cash-strapped. The government's history with fulfilling its promises to the utility service providers has also left many wondering if the latest assurance would not go down the same path and give the utility companies a good excuse for their delivery of substandard services.
I believe it is inaccurate to put it that way. If you recall correctly, on the day that PURC announced the tariff adjustments, representatives of VRA and ECG were on hand to say that government had indeed met its commitments in terms of the debt that it owed these utility companies. So government has paid it, and as we speak, that cannot be a problem in terms of the capacity of these utility companies to continue their production in a manner that is efficient and also reliable and stable.
The Deputy Minister also gave details of what he described as a comprehensive water project to improve supply across the country.
First is the Kwon Water Supply Expansion Project. Currently, they have achieved 73% completion. The second one is the Kwon Intake Rehabilitation Project. There's also the Accra Tema Metropolitan Area Water Supply Project. There's also the Teshinungwa Desalination Water Project. Other projects that I can cite include the Insawum Water Supply Project, the Kwewu Ridge Water Supply Project. Then there is the Asante Mampong Water Supply Project. There is the Isachel Water Supply Project. There is the Akimodan Akwetia Winiba Supply. I must indicate that this is only an abridged version of a comprehensive program that covers about 30 different major water projects.
This, he says, forms part of government's efforts to further strengthen the utility service providers and reduce their dependency on tariffs. Felix Kwachio-Fosu, however, stated that government is yet to settle on a reduction in the tariff for water. Gifty Andopia, Joy News, Flagstaff House.
Meanwhile, prepaid consumers of the Electricity Company of Ghana will be reimbursed for purchases made from October 1, when the tariff increment was announced, to reflect the new 25% subsidy from government. Its Director of Public Affairs, William Boateng, tells Joy News the ECG will, by the close of the week, reconfigure its system to reflect the new 59.8% increase in electricity tariffs.
The 31st October, all customers that have done some purchases with us, we don't know their various purchasing records. But if I purchase 3 times, 4 times, the system will calculate your entire purchases and sum it up and reduce it by 25%, and that's going to be a credit you have with us. And when you go to buy, the vendor will inform you that the system is saying that you have this amount of money with us based on government directive in reducing the tariff.
He also explained the reduction in tariffs from 79.8% to 59.8% will not in any way affect the operations so long as government fulfills its promise to pay up the difference.
The initial challenge is this reprogramming and ensuring that those who have already purchased power will give back their difference. That is going to be the initial challenge to ECG, and we're going to work assiduously to ensure that we complete this programming quickly and then customers enjoy the reduction. With the subsidy, it's a matter of calculating how much the 25% is going to cost the government, and then we submit a bill to government, and then we wait for government to pay. We believe that the government knows that energy is the backbone of the economy, and so definitely we are going to be the number one priority when it comes to payment of government bills.
The 25% reduction is estimated will cost government about 400 million Ghana cedis.
In other news, the country's World War veterans continue to complain about what they say is their neglect by the state. A few of them who showed up for the commemoration of this year's Remembrance Day at the military cemetery here in Accra tell Joy News they are yet to receive war allowances promised them, and that they are forced to depend on handouts for their sustenance. Life, they say, has not been easy.
The
World War survivors expressed bitterness about their neglect by both government and society, explaining that their only source of income is the proceeds they make from the sale of Remembrance Day poppies.
But those of us who went to the civil service, we earn our pension. But instead of giving us the allowance that this one, Rory's introduced for the assessment and the veterans, we are not getting it. Yeah, we are not getting that allowance. Only our small this thing we are getting.
They describe the monies as woefully inadequate.
They should let everybody understand that if I'm a veteran, you are not useless. Every veteran is associated with love and understanding. But now, today, a veteran is what? Go and die. Do you know the money they give it? They call it chop and die. We are not going to chop the money and die. But still, we are taking this money to still work for the country. Why do you tell people that this is chop and die money?
Major Flemish, a veteran and member of the Estwall Urban Training School in the Gold Coast, says life has not been easy at all since his return from the World War.
After the army, nobody who as an army officer, what have we done? Experience means, just like my grandfather just said, he's been in the frontiers. And today, what have we done to help him? I thank God I'm alive, I'm kicking. Because during my days in the army, Holy Spirit, give me another opportunity. If God gives you another opportunity, it's going to be very great.
President Mahama laid a wreath on behalf of the people of Ghana as part of the 68th Remembrance Day activities. British High Commissioner Peter Jones also laid one on behalf of the Commonwealth and allied countries, the Chief of Defence Staff for the Ghana Armed Forces, the Dean of Diplomatic Corps for all servicemen, while the Osumanche laid his on behalf of traditional leaders in the country. There were no speeches, even though the President had a brief interaction with the veterans. The service is held annually in honor of persons considered World War casualties on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month to mark the official end to the First World War. The event in recent times is, however, used to honor the memory of slain soldiers.
Now, the complaints of neglect by the ex-servicemen were echoed at the Remembrance Day commemoration in the Central Region. Chairman of the Central Region branch of the Veterans Association of Ghana, ex-Warrant Officer 1, Joseph Omane, questioned why he and his colleagues have been left to wallow in poverty to lay down their lives for the nation. He called for access to free health care for the veterans and their spouses.
Because what we knew as serviceman, at least you and your wife, at least our children, they are over age. But you and your wife should be given the chance to go to hospital free. Even if they give you free and you have to go and buy the medicine, you know there is no medicine. But this time it's not like that. My wife cannot go to hospital. If he goes, he has to pay like civilian. Those are the benefits we feel we should get. We the soldiers, they give us, but at present no medicine, so you have to go and buy your medicine. Well, I said that you should see to our welfare.
And in the Volta region, the regional minister laid a wreath on behalf of the President of Ghana, while Commander of the 66th Artillery Regiment, Lieutenant Colonel Abbas Seidu, laid another on behalf of the Ghana Armed Forces. Paramount Chief of Ziavi Traditional Area, Togbe Ayim Kwaku IV, also laid one on behalf of the Volta Regional House of Chiefs and the people of the region, whilst Major Moses Kwasi Adraku, retired Regional Chairman of the Veterans Association of Ghana, also laid one on his behalf, on behalf of his colleagues.
Shall build houses.
We have more stories coming up after the break. Don't go away. The New Patriotic Party has submitted a petition to the Chief Justice over claims made by SAC Deputy Communications Minister Victoria Hammer on a taped conversation leaked to the media last week. The party following comments suggesting Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Nana Oyeletha, influenced the verdict in the election petition, had vowed to get the CJ to probe the matter. Party General Secretary Kojo Sufriye indicated the second petition will be sent to Parliament, insisting the claim cannot be ignored.
Well, we've drawn the CJ's attention to the tape. We have attached copies of the tape for the attention of her leadership, the Chief Justice. And when she plays it, we believe that she will have no doubt at all in her mind that it is a matter that is a very serious matter and that calls for an inspection.
The MPP is basing the petition on this extract from the recording.
Tony Peter has been the friends of the Rawlinses, being a friend to the President John now and his wife. And let even before even the verdict Nana was with the justice and all that. You don't know the role she has played even for us to win the court case. They want to use your unintelligence to overthrow her, yeah. Or even Tony Peter and John Muhammad, they have got an ally, they are allies. And so you cannot boast of 100,000 Ghana cedi in your account or dollars. You are there fighting.
The Deputy Communications Minister has since been sacked, even though the presidency did not say it was because of this and other comments she had made on the 32-minute recording, which has been widely circulated. The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Nana Oyeletha, has meanwhile denied the claim. Mercy Ajabin is the communications advisor for the ministry.
The press statement basically talks about the fact that the allegations are wholly and totally untrue because none of them is true. So wholly and totally untrue.
The MPP General Secretary, however, says he does not regard the denial, adding that the move by the MPP is in the interest of the ordinary Ghanaian.
And I have no doubt at all in my mind that whatever denials that comes from Nana Oyeletha, and I had not expected her to come straight away to say that, oh yes, I did it. But if she says he did not do it, let them appear before a proper commission of inquiry, and then to answer those, and then we'll call the Vicky Hammer also to come and tell us what she knew and what she did not know. So it is important for all Ghanaians, and even especially so for the NDC and for John Mahama himself, to be seen not to have been privy to things that happened, and it's not only the MPP. A lot of Ghanaians were concerned why he was wearing white in the morning. The vice president was in white, or drinking tea, waving white handkerchiefs, and appointees all in white. What has he heard?
Atonamsi, Joy News.
Meanwhile, the National Democratic Congress has dismissed the NPP's petition over the Victoria Hammer recording. General Secretary Johnson Ketia also chided the party for boycotting an electoral reform meeting with all political parties over the weekend in the Eastern Regional Capital Kufuor over the content of the tape.
They were represented by Mr. McMahon, the immediate past chairman of the party, and Honorable Poku Prempe, and John Boadu, and the others. Jake was not there. Jake and Sir John were busily talking about leaked tapes. So they put more premium on leaked tapes than to engage in the electoral process that will move the interests of the nation forward. So they
The Senior High Technical School for the Deaf at Mampong in the Eastern Region is having to grapple with very serious infrastructural challenges authorities say is affecting the quality of teaching and learning. Yafusa Jemfi, who's been to the school, reports almost all that the school has, from classrooms, dormitories and teaching aids, needs immediate attention. We will bring you that story a little later. But right now, President John Mahama has charged the new police council to confront what he says are peculiar challenges facing the police service, especially infrastructure and transportation. The president was speaking at the Flagstaff House, where he inaugurated a 10-member council to man the affairs of the Ghana Police Service. Vice President Kwesi Arthur said a meeting will be held right away to streamline requirements of leadership at the service which have come up in the media.
Vice President Kwesi Arthur is chairman of the council. He will be supported by Interior Minister Kwesi Ahoy, IGP Mohammed Ahmed Al-Hassan, Dominic Ayene, and COP Kwesi Nkansa retired. Others are Inspector Charles Obriyeboa, COP Rose Bio Atinga, Nancy Amate Few, Reverend Latte Lawson, and Alhaji Salif Osman. Their constitutional mandate includes giving policy advice on internal security, budgeting and finance, administration, and the promotion of officers above the rank of Assistant Commissioner of Police, among others. President Mahama expressed confidence in their ability to deliver.
You are being sworn in today in line with the provisions of Article 201 of the Constitution, which spells out the composition of the membership of the Police Council. There have been a number of visible improvements in the conditions and outlook of the police service over the last few years. There, however, remain a number of other peculiar challenges that must occupy your attention as a council. These include inadequate personnel to effectively police our ever-growing population, inadequate office and residential accommodation for officers and men, inadequate office accommodation for newly created divisions, districts and stations, inadequate lecture room facilities at the various police training colleges, inadequate transport, absence of sustained in-service training, and obsolete communications gadgets, among other things. In spite of the numerous achievements the Council chalked, we are still humble enough to acknowledge that there is more work to be done. I therefore challenge this Council to do even better than the previous one. Let me say that having known many of you for years and having worked with you, I have no doubts about your commitment and competence to stand up to the task ahead of you.
Vice President Emisa Arthur was optimistic of their success.
In the last couple of months, police visibility has increased, and there has been change in the way the public observes the police. The community policing strategy seems to be working, and I hope that giving us this privilege, we'll be able to contribute to further enhancing the peace and security of this country. The Minister of Interior has asked that we meet in an emergency session right after this ceremony to discuss a problem that seems to be more of a newspaper campaign about the headship of the police as we go along, and we'll be able to maybe put in place a procedure for the selection of the next IGP so that there's stability at the head of this institution.
The members of the council will also advise on enrollment, salaries, pensions, gratuities and other allowances of officers.
Now we're going back to an earlier story about the Senior High Technical School for the Deaf at Mampong in the Eastern region, which is having to grapple with very serious infrastructural challenges. Authorities say it's affecting the quality of teaching and learning. Yafuta Jemfi was there.
Built in 1975, the Senior High Technical School for the Deaf is the only government institution where children with hearing and speech impairment receive formal secondary and technical education. 38 years down the line, the school, which is also patronized by students from other neighboring West African countries, is being ejected from the various blocks housing the school's infrastructure for accumulated rent the school is struggling to settle. This, authorities blame on government.
The landlords are charging a monthly bill of 400 cedis, which we cannot pay because we have to pay from grants which government has to provide the school and which government has not done. For the whole of this year, we had only 2 months for the grant. So if we had owed this landlord for the past 4 years, it means you can imagine what the debt is up to now.
The dispersal of the school blocks over several scattered plots by itself exposes the students to various risks, especially as they have to traverse the busy highway that runs between them. But the buildings themselves are nothing to write home about. This 100-story building behind me is said to have been abandoned some 10 years ago. Authorities of the school say they can't even trace the contractor to complete the rest of the job, and some portions of it are almost collapsing.
Some time ago, we were fortunate we had a dormitory there. In the morning when we came, the whole staircase has collapsed. We're only fortunate that the students didn't collapse at the daytime where our students have their classes. They used to come and study here, but it would have been a disaster.
There is also serious congestion in the classrooms, as each classroom now takes about 40 students instead of the 12 who should have been seated in a horseshoe formation, ideal for their mode of teaching.
This year alone, we are receiving more students than ever. So how can we contain, where are we going to contain them? The school therefore has to move first, because we don't have more spaces here to expand the facility, because no landlord will permit us to make any extension.
Though the school teaches information communication technology, it has no single computer for studies, making it difficult for the students, teachers and the administration. The teachers have no choice but to improvise teaching aids. Equipment also used in teaching the vocational and practical aspect of the various courses are also not in good shape.
The tutor sometimes have to bring her machine. Previously, she has to take them through practical. So for now, we don't have machines. We don't have anything at all. The department is actually empty.
Teachers sometimes say they have to use their own money to cater for some of the urgent needs of students in anticipation of government subvention. The dormitories are equally congested, with very little room even for the students to move about. As if that's not enough, these students have to deal with badly leaking roofs. The students are, however, making the most of the situation and would even spare time to teach a journalist like me a thing or two in a sign language.
Like this, your hand.
More importantly, though, the school needs immediate attention wherever it may come from, whether government, corporates or individuals, just so the Senior High Technical School for the Deaf can continue to make life meaningful for their children with hearing and speech impairment. Yafosua Jemfi, Joy News.
The business news coming up next.
Time now for business. I'm Abigail Adumakwenchi. Now, the Center for Freedom and Accuracy has asked Ghanaians to demand the abrogation of the sale of Merchant Bank to Fortis Equity Fund Limited. Addressing a news conference Monday, the Executive Director, Andrew Awuni, questioned the credibility of Fortis and described the transaction as daylight robbery.
Fortis Equity Fund, the entity the Bank of Ghana approved as the new owners of Merchant Bank, according to the centre, offered 90 million Ghana cedis for the 90% stake of the bank, with the remainder split between SNIT and the SIC. This, the centre, however, says, pales in comparison with the 199.3 million Ghana cedi offer made by First Rand for a 75% stake, which was rejected by the central bank. CFA Executive Director Andrew Awuni adds that it is equally curious that the 5-month-old Fortis Equity Fund has no business transaction records since it was incorporated.
I think that the deal is bad. The deal should not be allowed to happen. For a company to register only 5 months ago and with no experience, no capacity whatsoever, buy a state asset such as Merchant Bank is questionable. It appears that the central bank is practicing reverse transaction here. We have a situation where the stakeholders are still negotiating. They really don't have a signed agreement. How the Bank of Ghana can jump into giving an approval is questionable. Do we really have a signed agreement? Has Senate and Fortis signed an agreement?
He also cited the company's stated capital, which he says should ordinarily not qualify it to operate a bank as per the Bank of Ghana's own regulations.
What is the minimum stated capital requirement for anybody who wants to start a bank? 120 million Ghana cedis. How can they allow an institution that has just 5 million Ghana cedis as its stated capital buy a bank and its license? If they will not grant a license to anybody who does not have a stated capital of 120, how can they approve the purchase of merchant bank to a company that does not have even 10 million Ghana cedis as stated capital?
Andrew Awoni further called on SSNIT to terminate the transaction immediately and asked other stakeholders to investigate what went into the transaction. Matilda Wamegas reports for Joy News.
Now, Finance Minister Seth Terkper has inaugurated a 6-member board of directors for SIC Life Company Limited. Seth Terkper congratulated the company for chalking 100 million cedis mark in production in 2012 from about 34 million cedis in 2009 and for their consistency in paying dividends to government. The market share of SIC Life also grew from 27.7% to 2009 to 28.19% in 2012. Board Chair Joshua Abo, on behalf of the board, pledged to work assiduously to ensure the growth of the company. And that'll be it for business. I'm Abigail Adomakwinchi.
Only 10,000 soccer fans will be allowed into the 30,000 capacity Air Defense Stadium in Cairo for the Brazil 2014 World Cup playoff return leg between Ghana and Egypt. FIFA explained the security plan is to ensure maximum safety for players, officials and fans.
Only 10,000 fans will be allowed into the Air Defense Stadium for next Tuesday's Brazil 2014 World Cup playoff return leg between Egypt and Ghana in Cairo. The rest of the 20,000 capacity will be filled by security personnel on duty. This directive has been clearly spelled out in the detailed security plan for the decisive November 19 clash. Authorities do not want to take chances at all after skirmishes between fans and police outside the stadium in Cairo on Sunday before Egypt's Ahly beat South Africa's Orlando Pirates in the final of the African Champions League. No injuries were reported, although police fired tear gas at hundreds of rioting Ahly fans ahead of kickoff outside the Arab Contractor Stadium. FIFA General Secretary Jerome Valke wrote in a letter to the Ghana Football Association that permanent police escorts for players and officials and sufficient security at team hotels and training sessions will be secured.
In relation to that as well, FIFA will be meeting the Ghana officials and Egypt as well on Thursday to find out exactly what we'll do about the situation. Let's come to Ghana and talk about this. Coach Osei Fabian has been retained as head coach of the national under-17 team and has been tasked to ensure the team qualifies for the 2015 FIFA Under-17 World Cup. His assistant, Opele Boateng, however, has been relieved of his duties.
Former Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Accra Hearts of Oak trainer Samuel Osei Fabian has been retained as head coach of the Ghana Under-17 male team, the Black Starlets. Our checks reveal that Fabian was summoned to the headquarters of the Ghana Football Association last Friday, where he was informed by the GFA Vice President Fred Krinsel of the decision to retain him and was asked to, within 1 week, prepare a program towards the 2015 qualifiers set to begin in June next year. His assistant Isaac Adade Boateng, who is currently in London, will however not continue in the role. Both coaches were initially given the job in 2011 to prepare Ghana's under-17 team to qualify for the African Championship in Morocco and the just-ended World Cup in the UAE. The Black Starlets, however, failed to go past the group stage in the African Junior Championship.
We continue our build-up to Season 7 of the Joy Sports Invitational Tournament scheduled for 23rd November at the OAC Sports Stadium, and we turn attention to Global Access. Let's find out what they've been up to in preparation.
This year, even though I have lost most of my players, Exodus, but I have equally good players.
And all that we want to say is watch out for Global Access. We are not giving the cap, we are maintaining, we are holding on to the cap. Yes, and we also want to say a big thank you for Joy FM. For
Number 9. I was part of last year's team, and this year we have a very formidable team. Wow. So I know for sure that we will defend the cap.
Yeah, I'm number 8. Yeah, number 8. Yes, you see, in a midfield, I'll be an attacking striker. So when the midfield follow up on me, I just throw the ball into the net. Oh yes, of course, we are going to do. I'm going to score only 3 goals for the day. Yeah.
I have 4 of these guys. So if he's scoring 3, then just imagine I have 12 goals.
This is on the field of play. I'm playing on my 3. You understand? Yeah, that is where I'm playing.
team. I'm the lefty. I'm playing and I'm scoring just only one goal.
All right, so the bragging knows no end, but we'll find out what happens on the day itself. Watch out for Team Multimedia. And as we speak, Djokovic is currently leading Nadal in the ATP Tour Finals. Very, very important to find out what happens here. They've actually met 39 times. This is the 39th time. You look at what's happening between them, and it's Nadal who's leading that particular one, the personal best, 22-16. By the moment Djokovic is leading, we'll find out what happens there. That'll be all for sports tonight. My name is George Adijina. Israel will join us with some more.
Sports was brought to you in association with
Smile, you've got Higo.
And farmers at Crowboy in the Sicily East District of the Yapa West region are appealing to government and NGOs to help them research about the weather so they will plan their farming activities accordingly. They say their inability to forecast the rainy season impacts adversely on their yields, with repercussions on their livelihoods. Rafiq Salam's report from Crowboy.
The main occupation of the people of Sisala East is farming. One explanation why the district is the food basket of the Upper West region. At the start of the rainy season, the farmers in the district had hopes of better yields, having had rains as early as April. The rains were that heavy, it caused some destruction to property and displaced some persons. Their hopes were, however, dashed after the rains suddenly stopped, causing some of them to lose their crops. Some of the worst affected communities were Bugbele, Walembele, Tasso and Crowboy, with groundnuts the most damaged crop. These farmers at Crowboy, busily winnowing their groundnuts, lament the difficulty they had to go through to salvage what they have. They are also worried they may not reap enough food from this season's harvest to sustain them till the next season.
Apparently, in being with the low cost, the low harvest of the groundnut this year, I can't even get money to go for my in-laws if I'm going to attend a funeral. Even how to get even a peso for a soup ingredient for my wife is a problem. So they said, in fact, it's affecting all the farmers within our areas here.
The Executive Director of Rural Organization of Women Farmers and Agro-Processing Development, ROFAD, Yana Yahya, stated that the insufficient rains has also contributed to low yields on the farm, which in a long way will affect the farmers.
We bring you Showbiz next.
Showbiz is
the woman with enough flesh and clearly defined bodily curves. And if that definition is anything to go by, then Ghanaian female dancehall artist Kaki qualifies as the typical African woman. But her curvy body, which has won her many male fans in particular, will soon change as the singer drops hints that she intends to be at least a size 10.
But my body doesn't go when I trim down, so there's still whole things to trim on.
What size do you hope to trim to? Be a size 12 or size 10?
Yes, 10.
Size 10. Aren't the men enjoying this one? Why do you want to bother yourself?
Well, let's just say I want to be better.
You want to be better?
Yeah.
Why do you think being better means trimming down?
Being better doesn't mean trimming down. It means everything. Branding comes with everything, and the main thing that drives you as an artist is your brand. So I might have the best voice, I might be the best dancer, but I need to suit my look or my future look or my dreamed look.
And that's it. Before we go the quick run through our top stories, the TUC has called off the planned nationwide protest for recent utility tariff hikes after government's decision to absorb 25%. Government has meanwhile reiterated it will pay the 400 million Ghana cedi subsidy to the utility companies despite its challenges. The ECG has also assured it will effect the necessary changes in its billing systems so prepaid electricity users will enjoy the rebate. Veterans have complained about their welfare as the country commemorates Remembrance Day. And the MPP has filed a petition over comments by sacked Deputy Communications Minister suggesting election petition verdict was influenced by government. That's all for the bulletin. My name is Israel Live. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com.